Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be going over some information about how to make an inductive presentation. What is an inductive presentation? It's basically quite the opposite of what many of us do at times, which is come into the classroom. This is the typical thing. You get into the classroom and you know that you have all these steps to follow. Some of us do, some of us don't. The ideal is that everybody does, that everybody do the same thing and basically follow the same structure. So whenever you go to, if you're a student and you go to Zacatecas, you can see this specific thing. If you go to Mazatlan, you can see this specific structure. If you go to any of the places in Guadalajara, which are 4 right now, it's this, right? And that every single time a student comes, they can know and they will notice that we are doing the same thing, right? So one of the things I want you to notice is that this is a typical thing according to the structures that we have learned in Golden English. Now, I know it seems like the same thing for, like everybody else does, but everybody does different things even though we're doing something very similar. Now, typically, what you do is you get in the classroom, you talk to your students like, hey, how are you, blah, 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 this and that, and, maybe ask them some questions about, things they did or how they did them and if they did good, if they were right or they're fine, etc., 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 which is good. Now, you go in there and then you start telling, so for some people this is what a warmer is. They just get in there and they start saying, okay, so today we're going to talk about present perfect, and that's okay, but sometimes stating what you're going to be talking about instead of, what it means or what it does really doesn't tell students anything. So they go like, oh, so we're going to go over present perfect. What the hell is that? What is that? What do we do with that? They start wondering, they start making questions in their minds. If they care, if not, they will just go like, okay, well, give it away. Try me, And then the thing is, just after that, they probably do just like, okay, so what is present perfect to the students? And the students go like, what? Yeah, that's the same thing we're asking. We're wondering if we are. We're going to be asking you the same thing. Teacher, I was about to ask you the same thing, So basically, that's okay again, because that's a typical thing. Then you go into the board and you say, right, present perfect. Then you probably start writing some information about the rules, the grammar, terminology, the tags that everything has, like the subject, the verb, the object, the auxiliary, the linking actions, and whatever you want. Whatever you call things, because I've noticed also that different teachers use different names for everything. Like, for example, I have gone to New York. Probably they use auxiliary verb, which is, one of the auxiliary verbs. But it's also a linking verb, which, because you don't use past participles alone, but, it's not necessarily an auxiliary verb. It's actually more like a link. It's like verb to be. Verb to be becomes a linking verb as well as verb have, which is in turn the meaning or becomes the meaning of the term in Spanish haber. So basically, the whole thing revolves around grammar, vocabulary, and things that, again, people know, or they might not. And that's my concern, that people don't know, most of the time, they don't know what the hell auxiliary, linking, subjunctive, whatever form you tell them it is. So unless you give them examples. So that's the point. If you're going to end up doing examples, if you're going to end up giving them examples, then you can have Didi. Didi is a girl who likes to explain things. She likes to come in and tell people what they would do. Didi is a person who gets in the classroom right now. For instance, I'm talking to you about things that you know, and I'm doing the same thing Didi would. I'm explaining information right now. I'm telling you, do this, do that, blah, 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 guiding you with my chitty-chatty, and that's okay. But again, believe me, it's not the best approach when you're teaching. And some person told me the other day, well, you're telling us not to explain and that's what you keep doing. And I say, that way you might find it more interesting that if I come to you and I start explaining information and I get you bored, then you might find that it's true that, the more interaction, the more, you know, self-connection, the easier it is for you to keep information in your brain. Because if I bored you, then you just become, like uninterested. You lose whatever brought you here, whatever brought you to this school to learn the language. You lose it right away, off the start. That's not what it is all about. It's about keeping interest. So let's do this the right way, all right? How do we do it? How do we keep this inductive and not deductive? Like, Ian loves doing inductive, and Didi loves doing explanations. Inductive, as Ian does it, Ian comes into the classroom and then he starts talking about things that happened in different situations. Maybe will happen, maybe some plans he has, maybe he talks about a story that he has, where he uses specific language functions and stuff like that. So he comes into the classroom, he talks to the students, he gives them the information, but not in a direct way. He gives it that in a way that they will start using it and start understanding within, because of the situation itself, and not necessarily because of an explanation, which they might need, which you will do later, but not start off with that. See, the thing is that when you are learning Spanish or your first language, you were not at the house, sitting down at a specific place waiting for your mom to come in and say, well, today we're going to talk about the arbors, okay, Mr. Little Boy? I don't know, whatever, they call you, little pumpkin or whatever they called you. It doesn't really matter. The thing is, your mother didn't do that. Your mother just came in and started asking things to you like, oh, how are you, my little baby, and blah, 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 and, telling you things. Get me the thing from the table, and it would be like, you would be like asking, wondering in your mind, like, table? And she would be pointing at specific things somewhere on the table, and there were like 4 or 5 different things, and you started looking for one, and you was like, this one? Probably you didn't say this one, you probably say something like that. And the mom, you would say, no, the other thing, the other next to it. And you start looking for these things, and the more you look for it, then when you know you've got it, then you want to go, yes, that one, you make a big thing out of it, and you were enchanted because you did it, you got it right. So basically that's what we do. We come into the classroom, we don't talk about language per se, we use the language, we show them how to use it, and we come into a situation where they can start to use it as well. For example, let's say, we're talking about lesson 26, to present perfect. If I come in, typically I would not follow the specific, I would follow the same structure, but I'm going to do it in an inductive way. How is that? Instead of going directly into a warmer, my warmer I'm going to divide it into 2 pieces, which is when I set a situation. Now, to do this, when I'm doing the setup, when I'm setting it up, first of all, in order to set up a situation, you don't just go into the situation, you don't just tell a story, you make some questions to students. So, for example, do you travel often? And, the reason I ask this is because I'm preparing the students' minds to a set, to a plot, to a situation where they are going to be involved, directly or indirectly, because they're going to be imagining, they're going to be picturing things in their minds. So it's going to be easier for them to understand what's going on later. So I set up the situation. When I set up the situation, I go like, okay, for example, this is 26, okay? Remember, my objective is to make people speak about what they have or haven't done in a visit to another place. Surprisingly, you notice that I'm not asking, my objective is not to teach present perfect, because if I set that to myself, if I set that objective for me to show them the present perfect, then I could just write 4 examples of the word, just there you are. There's nothing to explain even then, because inductively I can make them understand what's going on and what it means and all that. But at the same time, it doesn't really go for the natural approach. And so it doesn't make a difference if I just go into it or if I show them the right or the proper approach. So here you go, for example, have or haven't done in a visit to another place. This is what I want as an objective. So I set a situation like that. So I first of all, I asked them, do you go out? Do you visit different places? Do you have family in other states in the country, or do you travel to the United States, or do you ever go out of the continent? You travel abroad? All those kinds of questions that they do. Then I say, okay, so for example, it's surprising, but when I travel a lot, and here I'm already into the situation, I'm already there. I've already made some questions, and from there I took it to a place where I can tell a story that will conceptualize, which is my second point. You will conceptualize. How do you conceptualize? A concept is not an entire idea. A concept is the idea in general. That's when you get, just like the main thing. You don't just, you don't tell strict, direct things. You go to a general situation or general thing that's going to help people to understand stuff, which is, what our objective is. The first thing, so you set the situation, you make good questions so that you get interaction from the students, but at the same time it's preparing. Remember that every single step you take has to lead you to the next thing to make more sense of it. You don't want to explain the whole thing since the beginning, but you will in a specific moment. So you go in to conceptualize, and this is, in order to conceptualize, you do two things. Number one, you tell a story, You tell a story, whether it's true, invented, whether you're talking about your life or something you heard from somebody, it doesn't really matter. As long as you start talking about the situation where you can begin to use the language naturally. When they hear this set of phrases that will sound similar, and they will start to notice that, okay. So it sounds like it's very natural and very logical. At the same time, they might be wondering, what's this? I mean, why does he use this? Why does he use that? What does the teacher, do this and that? But at the same time, it's going to help them. It's going to help them because sooner or later, they're going to begin to understand the information that is in front of them right there. Okay? When they get there. So you tell a story. To go, for example, it's crazy, because after I make the questions, I just go, look, it's crazy, I've traveled around the country because of my job and because my dad before me, when I was a child, they used to travel a lot as well. And the thing is that, living in different places hasn't really given me the chance to know the places. I've gone to different places. For example, I lived in Mazatlan for 2 years, and then, almost 2 years, well, a little less, during 7 months, somewhere like that, 8, 9 months, I don't remember. Thing is, I lived there, and all I did was go home from work to home, and from home to work, basically. On weekends, all I wanted to do was rest. Some days, now and then, I went out, but basically the same old places, and repeated the same old places. So I did go out, but not very many places were visited that I remember. And then I went to, before that I had gone like a couple times, and after that I had visited the place. I had visited the place like 2 or 3 times. So knowing that I've been there, and that I have visited Mazatlan for a couple times. One of the times, because I have family there, I visited my aunt, and she likes to go out. I asked her if there was any good place, if she knew of any good places to go out, because I said, she goes, well, you lived here for 2 years almost, and come on, how come you don't know the city? You know what's there, what there is, so that you can, visit, so you can go out. And I said, well, amazingly, I don't. And, tell her that, that I don't know the places. And she was like, wow, I'm amazed. So let me see. Okay, I'm going to give you some options. About the places you can visit, you have probably visited them, you probably haven't. You have, I don't know, I'm just going to say, for example, she comes up with, have you gone to Sumbawa? And I said, oh, well, yeah, I have gone there. I was there for once. And then she goes, have you been to the lighthouse, El Faro? Have you gone to the lighthouse? And I said, no, I have never been there. I never went there when I was there, and the rest of the times that I have visited this place, I have never been to El Faro or to the lighthouse. And she goes, wow, you should. It's one of those beautiful places. And I said, okay, well I might go. Why not? It's one of the places. What can we do there? Oh, she said, well, have you ever seen the whole city from high above? I said, no. Well, you can go all the way, steps up, and you can start to see the whole city. And I said, oh, well, that's an interesting point of view. But it would be better off if I go with there with somebody that I can enjoy the view. And not one there at the time, and certainly wasn't going to do it with my aunt. So let's see. She comes up with another question like, oh, have you gone to? I don't remember the name of the place. Oh, Isla de la Roca, de la Piedra, something like that. Have you been to Isla de la Piedra? And say, no, I have never been to the Isla de la Piedra. Why don't you come on? It's one of the most common places. You are here, you visit that place. And I said, well, I have never done it. I haven't. Believe me, I haven't gone there. And she says, well, you should. And I said, well, I will. Well, let's go there. That's one of the places. What can we do there? And she goes, have you snorkeled? And I said, no, I haven't. And she says, well, that's one of the things you can do there. All right. She says, have you ridden on horseback on the beach? And I say, no, I haven't ridden on horseback on the beach. And if I wanted to ride horseback on the beach, I know where to do it now. And she asks these 4 or 5 different questions, and I say, have you, right? So basically what I do is I tell a story where I am using the information. I'm not telling them, this is a present perfect, and have, and blah, blah. As they say it, I might be pointing it out, I might be, making a specific mark. Remember we have talked about making marks when you say something. If you want to, you want subconscious, send subconsciously. If you want to subconsciously send a message, sorry there. If you want to send a message and keep it there, keep it in your mind, as you hear the information on the board that is, that is being said. It's probably on the board right now. It's nothing there. But if I told them, all this information, and I say, well, have you, or maybe some other, mark, and I say, yes, I have, or no, I haven't, or no, I haven't. Make specific mark where you can get people to, to recall that later, because you're gonna say like, have you? I'm like, okay, just, can you make a question to them, and you do this, and they go like, have you? And you're like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. No, what's your answer? Me? And we're like, yes, I have, of course. You do this specific mark so that people can recall information subconsciously, because not everything that you say comes to their ears. Everything that you say comes to their ears, they come to their eyes, it comes through the way that they feel and all that. So keep using, analog marking so that they can understand stuff. So when you tell a story, you keep repeating a word. Remember that in order to tell a story and conceptualize, you have to repeat a word or phrase. That word or phrase is going to act as the trigger for that specific knowledge. As the same thing that you're doing the concept or the repeat the word, maybe the marks, the analog marking, like the words that you say with a specific intention or with a specific motion that is going to give them the understanding of what's going on, right? So now, this is basically, right now, I've already gone through the presentation stage as well, because I did this I do this in a like in a linked way. I don't just finish one thing and go to the next, and I basically do this as a chain that doesn't doesn't stop. It just goes all the way on. Right now I could just begin to do this, the actual presentation. The presentation, we're gonna stage it also in 3 parts. Now, for us to understand this, the first thing is, again, when you give the students the chance to go real life, to go into somewhere that they are, listening, something that they are seeing, and something that they are, maybe remember that not always what they see is outside. Some of the time, what they see is inside. Remember that neurolinguistic programming says that there are, representational systems, or what we call learning channels. Some people might be visual. That doesn't mean that they have to go out and see something out there so that they can bring it in. Sometimes all they have to do is represent it within their heads, and that's an internal representation. So remember that we have internal, external representations. So internal, external. What you do, it's up to you again. Obviously, as a teacher, you want them to use external representations, or you want to use external representations to spark that inner representation as well, or that thing that they already know. So don't just go in there without any material, but at the same time don't pretend that everybody has the same type of imagination, or the same level of imagination. Some people are more auditory, and that's where telling the story falls into place. Using the visuals outside to spark the information that there might be creating inside, it's a good idea. Okay, so keep doing that. So repeat the phrase, the word that you want. For example, in this case, the concept is visit another place if you have seen this place, or if you have done that, if you have the other. Basically, this one is too narrow, because there is no alternative. Maybe you want to like to use a specific term, like some teachers do, like experience, right? They go in and say, well, have you experienced this? Experiences. Have you done this? Have you done that? Maybe they talk about something that started in the past and continues happening in the present. Like, I have worked in Golden English for 5 years, and I still work there, but I started working in the past, and it continues on. So this is something that you might want to look into, like the concept, the word that you repeat and phrase according to. But to me, it's more like a phrase in this case. The phrase is, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? Basically the same questions. Have you visited? Have you seen? Have you been? And those 3 marks will give me the same thing. Believe me, people will not have a hard time. They will not struggle that much to understand what you're asking. They might be, uncertain, all in all, about the use of have and why are you using have, but they might be understanding the whole situation now. The thing is, the reason they do understand is because the situation clears it out for them. Now, if it doesn't, then this is what you do next. Remember that we said we're going to stage these in 3 parts too, right? So the 3 parts of the presentation, the actual presentation, even though to me the presentation starts here. To me, the presentation starts with you set the situation, because this is going to be remembered like a chain. So for example, I go in, I said blah blah blah, do you do this, do you do that, do you remember, do you blah blah blah, etc., etc. Then from there I conceptualize by telling the story and repeating a phrase, or repeating a couple phrases. Here, what I say, for example, if I'm teaching, I don't know, lesson 14, maybe, lesson 14 per se. If I just go in there and I say, okay, today we're going to learn about present progressive or present continuous. Then, I start making sentences, writing on the board, explaining why they have to use the verb to be, what are the 3 forms, how's the question, how's the information, how's the, all those things. If I'm doing this, what I do is like, okay, hey, by the way, do you have brothers and sisters? They go like, oh yes, I do. Oh, I have brothers and sisters. They don't live here. They live somewhere else. But does your brother live here? Does your mother live here? Do you have brothers, sisters, etc.? First find out. Oh, well, yeah, I have a brother, I have a sister, they say. And then I say, okay, where's your sister right now? Where? And they, this in order to rehearse the information they saw in previous lesson, like lesson 13 with the WH questions. I was like, where does your sister live? In Guadalajara or in another place in the country? She goes, oh, she lives in I don't know, Querétaro. Okay, she lives in Querétaro. Wow, what's there in Querétaro? What does she do? Oh, she's blah, 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 this and that. Okay, so what's her profession again, or occupation? In order to link it to the information that is there. Oh, wow. Is she working right now? Do you think she's working? Because, I'm already into this. Right now, I'm already into the presentation. I'm already making a situation. What's she doing right now? And here, to me, I would say right now. And as I do this phrase or word or concept, as we call it, it's, I do this right now. And I show them I don't even have a watch, but I do this and I say right now, at this very moment. The more I use that, the more they can learn information, they can still go on, right? So if I just say, okay, so is she working right now, or she's studying? Is she, what do you think she's doing? Some of them, they just open their eyes and they're like, I don't know, she's in another place. Okay, let's pretend that you have a crystal ball and you can tell me what they're doing right now. So just, do your magic there, work your magic, and, tell me, what are they doing right now? What's your brother doing? Oh, and they go, because let me tell you what my brother is doing. My brother is, right now he's walking on the street, and he's talking on the phone. He's talking on the phone as he's talking to his girlfriend. He's talking to his girlfriend, and I kept doing this like I was actually in contact with that other place. He's walking on the street, talking on the phone. He's talking to his girlfriend, and he's inviting her to go out on the weekend. He's thinking about taking her to the movies. And I keep going like that. So what are you doing? What's your brother doing? I start with that, and basically off the start, I'm not going into the board. Right now I have all the information here that I want you to see as I go. But for the most part, the information that they will see is the one that they will take home, the one that they're going to write. I don't want them to write the rules on the start. I want them to see this. So I'm already there. So when they do this, remember that I'm conceptualizing, and as I'm conceptualizing, I am going to do some specific stuff. Yes? So the first thing is, as the conceptualization comes, I start to demo the language or the use. Demo your language. Demo the language concept that you have. For example, if I said right now, and right now I said, oh, because I can tell you about my brother. Look, my brother is doing this, he's doing that, he's doing the other. He is doing that. And I might mark it somehow with my fingers. He is walking down the street. He is talking on the phone. He is talking to his girlfriend. He is inviting her out. He is thinking about da-da-da-da-da, right? So I just ask directly, and from there I go to the second one, which is the elicitation. I elicit or ask for the questions, or for the example, elicit examples. See, I go and I elicit the examples that I want to see on the board. I'm not going to write my own examples most of the time. I do. When I do, it's because I want to eat it up and go faster because of time or whatever. But if I just elicit examples and if I use them on the board, I put them here. For example, this person is, I'm asking her, so what's your brother doing right now? And she says, he is taking a shower. And I go, you don't want to see that on the, scratch that. And they go, okay. So I write it on the board. He is. He's what? And I say, taking a shower. Taking a shower. Excellent. And I would say, when? And they would say, right now. Okay, right now. Okay, remember that. That is right now. So he's taking a shower right now. Excellent. So let's go to the next person. What's your sister doing right now? Oh, by the way, what's her name? Oh, her name is Fernanda. Good. So Fair is doing what? What's she doing? What is she cleaning right now? Is she dancing right now? What is she doing? And she goes, oh well, she is eating right now. Okay. She's eating what? Hamburgers? Spaghetti? What is she doing? Oh, she's eating a hamburger. Good. Let's use a hamburger. Very good. And I say, when? And they go, now, right now. Okay, very good. Jerry's eating a hamburger right now. Good. All right. And what about your parents? Are they dancing right now? Are they working? What are they doing? Oh, my parents are, they're working. Okay, good. So they are, let's use my parents. My parents. Right? My parents. Is or are? And then they go like, are. Okay, my parents. My parents are working. Okay, they're working where? And they go, oh, the blah blah blah, such and such. Okay, well, they're working home right now. They're working home. Oh, they work home. They don't work at a company. They work at home. Very good. Okay, so once I get this, which is the elicitation, and remember the one reason that I get examples from them is because people get attached more to things that come from them. If I write questions or examples or anything that I made, which is perfectly fine, I'll do it, but only because again I want to save time. Otherwise I'll get their examples because those I can use in a very natural way, start using them and start getting them the information that they need only in the easiest way possible. So one of the things that I do is if I see my example, I'm a student and I see my example up there, obviously I'm going to be more active, more attentive. I'm going to be very see like what's going to happen to my baby right there, right? So what I do is now I will ask questions here in order to analyze the whole thing. Sorry, I'm writing with the wrong color. So we analyze the examples. How do we do this? I'm not interested in using myself the names. Sometimes the students know more grammar or use more grammar than I do. Some of them come up with subject and I say, oh, the person. Some of them say the verb and I say, oh, the action. Some of them say an adjective and I say, oh, the characteristics. Yes, and stuff like that. The idea is to keep it in a word or in a way that they use only the information that is proper using. Because if I keep using information they don't need or they don't know, well, that's going to make it difficult for people to understand what's going on. So I analyze the information by making questions. So I say, okay, so what is the structure or what do you find in common? The most popular question that I would make is, what do you see in common and what is different? What's common and different in these sentences? So, what's common and different in these sentences? I want you to tell me, what do you see? And they start telling me, oh, everybody, some people say, oh, we are using the verb to be in third person. Oh, we're using is. Two of them have is and one of them has are. And, if whatever they tell me, I'll turn it into a question. So, for example, they tell me, some of them use is and one of them uses are. And I say, okay, and why did you think that is? Why is and why are? Obviously, tending to make them remember the information because they this is lesson 14. They did this in lesson 1. They did this in lesson 6, 5, where they use is and are. They know that is singular, are is plural, all that. So I want them to recall that information, to bring it forth so that we can create the rules together. I'm not going to give them the rules. I want them to find out. See, this is the thing. I want them to notice things. This is the whole thing about an inductive teaching. It's noticing. That way, when I'm making the questions, I make questions. I don't give instructions. I don't tell them do this, do that. Basically, I'm guiding people. But I'm doing this so that when we do this, they get an moment, you know, like, they go like, oh, that's why, you know, that breakthrough, that moment where they feel they know that they're doing is correct. So, you know, after I do the question, like, you know, what is common and what's different? Obviously, they're going to mention the verb to be. So I write stuff down, like, for example, is and are. And, you know, when I write this, some of them have is, some of them have are. What's the difference between is and are? And they go like, is singular, are is plural. Okay, so I say something like, okay, so how many people are here? They say one. Okay, so what's the person here? He. So we mark the person he. Here, okay, how many people are here? They say one. What's his or her name? What's her? Okay, so we have one person there. How many people do we have here? They say two. And, you know, my analog marking usually involves, when it's plural, involves doing this like many times around, equally in the circle that I make here. Keep your analogs, which is your shapes, or your, you know, your underlining, your squaring, your circling, etc. Keep it, you know, where they can remember that this means something, right? So then I say, okay, what's also common about all the sentences? And they go, oh, all of them use the ing. Okay, so I just make the question, can I use only the ing without is or are? For example, if I erase this, can I say he taking a shower? They go, no, and then I say, why, you know? And then, you know, get people to understand and use what they already know in order to understand what they don't, or what they suppose they don't. Because honestly, all they're using is already there. You know, lesson 1, lesson 5, lesson 6, lesson 7. All of them use the verb to be in their structures. So when you're using this information now, it's not so new. The only new thing is that now you're putting together parts, that is parts of verb to be with parts of other verbs, which is the ing. And, you know, they get to notice that they use ing in all of them. Yes? And after that, they do have a complement, so they can get to understand a structure. So one of the things that I do right there is, when I analyze, I'm always implicitly making questions, right? I'm questioning, I'm making questions. I'm not telling, I'm making questions, because I want people to think. I don't want people to just, I want my students not to just, you know, say things, you know, out of the blue. I want them that if they don't know, I want them to notice it. And if they notice it, it's because there is enough examples. Yes? So, and I'm also doing mechanical drilling. As soon as I know that they have noticed the structure that is correct, and if I tell them it's verb to be, so if I tell them, okay, mechanical drilling would be something like substituting parts of it. Substitute. Okay, substitute. I have to substitute one part for the other. So for example, if I say, okay, Maria, let's change these. We want, there is blank, a hamburger. There is, and then she says, cooking. Okay, good. Tell me the whole sentence, and then say cooking. You know, I did this so that they notice that they're doing the same thing, just with different thing. Or maybe I just go here and I say blank and blank. I want you to complete the phrase, please, Joseph. I say working home, blank blank. Who is working home? And I make the question, who is working home? That way they know that I'm talking with, if they remember who, they most probably will. And I said just, okay, so who is Joseph, who is working home? And they go, my mom is working home. Okay, yes, okay, yeah, very good. My mom is working home. Very good. What if I just change these and I say are? And I change these and I want this different too. Okay, so tell me, Lucy, okay, who are cooking? Who is cooking and what are they cooking? Who is cooking and what are they cooking? See, I'm asking for this, I'm asking for that, so I keep it interactive. I keep always making questions. Who is cooking and what are they cooking? Oh, so it says probably, remember it's, I'm not going to tell them, remember it's plural, or, just make the question, who's cooking and what are they cooking? And they say, we are cooking, okay, we, good. What are you cooking? You and who? You, me and my brother, okay, what are you cooking? We are cooking, and they can come up with anything, some chicken soup, okay? I don't know, chicken soup. Okay, and instead of making a lot of explanations, spend your time asking, directing students' attention toward the way that you do things, all right? So while you do this, obviously you can start doing transformation drills, and you go affirmative to negative, or affirmative to questions, and interrogatives, or whatever you call them. So you don't tell them, okay, so, all right, so, like, right now, are you dancing? And she goes, no, I'm not. I'm not what? I'm not dancing. Good. You write that on the board. You erase this whole thing. I'm not dancing. I'm not drinking. I'm not listening to music. Whatever they tell you. Are we taking a shower right now? They go, no, we're not taking a shower. So you use, again, the forms that they can, where they can see and recognize the use of the affirmative, the negative. And you might write a sentence that is affirmative there, so that they can see the difference between them. And again, start the questions, what's similar, what's different. Yes, your questions, the first question is what's common, what's not common, what's different. And then from there you take it to the next step, which is noticing specific parts of the sentence. You can do the same thing for questions. It doesn't take that long anymore because you already did the most difficult part, which is taking this into a real life situation. So you get like, okay, now in order to start asking or using the tasks, which is something that we're going to be going over in the next session, because to me, if you can't do this even for a whole hour, if you can do this even for a whole hour, you're taking more advantage, and students are taking more advantage of information than if you did it for a whole, if you did, like every single thing. But in a written format where you only write information, they copy it down, they take it down, and then they bring it home and study it. That's up to you. You can do that. But at the same time, you can always, this is very important, you can always have people practice on more information when you're in the workshop. And this is where this gets interesting, because many times students finish workshops really early and they go home. I don't want them to go home. I want them to practice so I can start doing more tasks where I can repeat the same thing, but only that in this case we're not going to either demo, elicit, or analyze. We're just going to go from here to concept to actual practice. You get, in order to get the tasks done, depending on how free or how communicative or how mechanical you want them, it's up to a couple of things. We're not going to say that right now. I'm not going to go into there right now. All I wanted to see is that you can tell when to start a class that is, how to start a class that is more inductive, how to guide the students to discover things. This is also called guided discovery. Yes. The thing is, you want your students to know what's going on with language. You don't want them to just, know everything about the language. Yes, that's fine, that's okay. You have to teach them the language. You have to teach them the grammar. But then here, as we did this, we can start writing the sentences or the information about the rules here. And, it's only going to be whatever they need, because if they make no questions about, subjects and verbs and that, and if they do understand, they seem to understand, and you're telling them how to use it, when you give them the names of those structures, because you already analyzed them, and it's only then that you should, then it becomes easier for them to do workshops, because they're not going to rely on grammar to do the workshops. They're going to rely on usage, on concept in order to do it. So last time I did this, it was very simple. I talked to this guy and I said, this is my situation. I go, hey, do you go out on Saturdays, on Fridays, on Wednesdays, on weekends? Because he's a nurse and he works too much. And I say, do you go out? He goes, yes, I do. Sometimes, most of the time, obviously in his own words, struggling and everything. He says, in my house, my friends come. And I say, okay, so you invite your friends to your house? And he goes, yes. All right, and so, like regularly, what are the things you do when you're in a party? Like, because, you have different kinds of friends, don't you? You have the serious one, you have the crazy one, you have the one who's always going after girls and stuff. Yes, and he goes, yeah, I have all of those. Which one are you? Are you the quiet one? Are you the one who's always after girls? Yeah, you're that kind, right? And he goes, yeah. And so I tell him, okay, just pretend. Imagine right now you're in that party, in one of those parties at your home, and there's nobody else but your friends, you, and the guests, the people that you invited. And one of your friends is right now he's drinking too much, and usually he doesn't drink. He's barely getting into this idea of drinking and stuff. So imagine right now. He's not there with you. He has drunk. He already drank. He took 2 or 3 zips, and he's getting kind of happy, right? So he's out there dancing. What is he doing? Oh, he's dancing. He says, okay. I say, okay, good. Now his parent, specifically his father, is calling, and I'm already here. I am conceptualizing because I'm telling a story that story again is going to serve me to demo the language. So I go there and I say, and his father, he's calling you, okay? Because he doesn't answer his cell phone. He turned it off because he didn't want to be bothered. And then his father is calling you and he says, hi, Mr. I don't know, whatever his name is, right? And he goes like, hi, Mr. How are you? And is my son there? Is Carlos there? Is Charlie there? And he goes, hi, yes, he is, but he is not right here, right now. And I said, okay, well, imagine the father saying, where is he now? And he says, well, he's at the dining room. Not the room, dining in the living room. We removed the set, the sofas, the whole living room set. And he's dancing. He's dancing with a girl, that he met here. He's dancing with a girl. And he keeps asking questions. And what is he doing? Is he doing this? Is he drinking? No, sir. He's not drinking. And you tell him a bunch of stuff. And then you have your friend who's always after girls, but has a girlfriend. And the girlfriend shows up. And hi, how are you, Mr. I heard there was going to be a party in your house today, and I came. Is Louis here? And you go, Louis? Well, yes. And then you remember he's somewhere else kissing another girl. He's, out there making out and stuff like that. So she's telling him, where is he? And you say, well, I don't know. I don't think he's here. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And is he dancing with another woman? And you say, no, he's not. I don't know. You deny everything she says, right? And you say, no. And she says, is he dancing with another girl? You say, no, she's not dancing with another. Is he going after any girls out here? And you say, no, he's not. And whatever she asks you, you say, no, he isn't. Yes, he is. No, he isn't. According to what you would do, because he's your friend, you don't want to just make him get fucked up, right? So after that, I do get my questions and like, okay, so you're the mother, you're gonna call for the son, what is he doing? And then I'm the friend, I'm gonna call you and ask you if fulanito is doing whatever. So okay, you call, you're the friend, make the questions, you get the answers, okay? And then say, is he blah blah blah, is fulano there, is fulano there, is he doing this, is he doing that? And from there I just write 3 or 4 examples. In this case, to me, it was easier because I did affirmative questions and interrogations, affirmative and negative, all at once. And I just wrote like 2 examples for questions, 2 examples for answers with the where affirmative, 2 examples for answers that were negative. So I'll ask them, same thing, what's the same, what's different, why is this different, when do I do this at the beginning, when do I do the NT or the negative form, or what do I do for doing this? How do I know this is negative? Some people will say, oh, some of them are negative, some of them are affirmative. And I say, how do you know? And what makes them negative? And so we write all the information down so that they can see the difference between affirmative, negative, and interrogative. And from there, we go into another situation where they can start using it. So I say, maybe some of the natural cues here that I do, because I don't do exact substitution or transformation, I just do cues like I tell them a place and they tell me what the person is doing. I say, your brother in the gym. And he's like, oh, my brother is doing exercise in the gym. Okay. And I say, your cousins at the park. And they go, my cousins are playing soccer at the park. And, you know, that kind of thing. And I sometimes, you know, obviously I cue them for the negative and I say, are they? And I say, your friends in the park. I was like, are my friends playing soccer in the park? Or what are my friends doing in the soccer park? Or in the park? Are they playing soccer? You know, they get into the questions that they have seen or heard. And from there, they can start doing their own. Okay, so from there, you know, like I said, this is going to be the next session. I'm already passing my time, but just remember, okay, start doing this information. Whatever questions you might have, I'm gonna be there for you. Okay, so see you later. Have a very nice day. Bye.